allez-vous? Attendez, là ici, elle revient tout de suite.
At just 23 years old, during the filming of Les Bijoutiers du Clair de Lune, Brigitte Bardot attempted to take her own life. Then, after years of struggling with her sex symbol image and at the peak of her fame, she stunned the world by walking away from Hollywood to become one of the most passionate animal rights activists of the 1970s. What darkness drove this screen siren to abandon fame and fortune for an eventual life of reclusiveness? Brigitte Anne-Marie Bardot's childhood was anything but carefree and happy. She was born into a wealthy family in 1934 in Paris, France. Her father, Louis Bardot, was a successful industrialist, while her mother, Anne-Marie Mussel, came from a well-to-do family. But wealth couldn't shield young Brigitte from the strict, oppressive atmosphere of her childhood home. Bardot's parents, particularly her mother, enforced rigid rules and high expectations. The constant criticism of her appearance and behavior left a lasting impact on Brigitte's self-esteem. In a revealing interview years later, Bardot recalled, "My mother was very severe. She never showed me any affection. I always felt I wasn't good enough." This lack of emotional warmth at home would later fuel Bardot's rebellious nature and her desperate search for love and acceptance elsewhere. It also laid the groundwork for the deep-seated insecurities that would plague her throughout her life, even as she became one of the most desired women in the world. Despite the challenges at home, Bardot found solace in dance. At age 7, she began taking ballet lessons, eventually gaining admission to the prestigious Conservatoire de Paris. This early training in movement and expression would later contribute to her captivating on-screen presence. Bardot's entry into the world of entertainment came almost by accident. In 1949, at just 15 years old, she appeared on the cover of Elle magazine. This single photograph caught the attention of aspiring filmmaker Roger Vadim, who would later become Bardot's first husband and the architect of her rise to stardom. Vadim saw in Bardot a raw sensuality that he believed would revolutionize French cinema. He began crafting roles specifically designed to showcase her unique appeal. In 1956, Vadim directed Bardot in And God Created Woman, the film that would catapult her into international fame. The movie was a sensation, breaking taboos with its frank portrayal of sexuality. Bardot's uninhibited performance shocked and titillated audiences in equal measure. Overnight, she became a global sex symbol, her image plastered on magazine covers and bedroom walls around the world. But the sudden fame was a double-edged sword. While Bardot reveled in the attention and adoration, she also felt trapped by the expectations placed upon her. In a moment of candor, she once said, "I am really a cat transformed into a woman. I purr, I scratch, and sometimes I bite." This feline comparison was apt. Like a cat, Bardot was both alluring and aloof, craving attention one moment and fiercely independent the next. This complexity of character, so at odds with her one-dimensional public image, would contribute to her growing sense of alienation. As Bardot's star rose, so did the demands on her time and energy. She worked tirelessly, appearing in film after film throughout the late 1950s and early 1960s. The relentless pace and constant scrutiny began to take a toll on her mental health. In private, Bardot struggled with depression and anxiety, feelings she felt compelled to hide from the public. It was during the filming of Les Bijoutiers du Clair de Lune in 1958 that the pressure reached a breaking point. At just 23 years old, overwhelmed by the demands of her career and the suffocating nature of her fame, Bardot attempted to take her own life. This shocking event was kept hidden from the public at the time, but it marked a turning point in Bardot's relationship with her own celebrity status. In the aftermath of her attempt, Bardot threw herself even more fervently into her work, as if trying to outrun her inner demons. She took on more roles, attended more premieres, and smiled for more cameras. But behind the glamorous facade, the cracks were beginning to show. Bardot's personal life became fodder for the tabloids, with every romance and breakup scrutinized by the public. Her marriages were particularly tumultuous. Her first, to Roger Vadim, ended in divorce after just 5 years. Her second, to actor Jacques Charrier, produced her only child, Nicolas, but was marked by Bardot's struggle with postpartum depression and her admitted difficulty in connecting with motherhood. In her autobiography, Bardot shocked readers with her brutally honest account of her feelings upon learning she was pregnant. "I looked at my flat, slender belly in the mirror like a dear friend upon whom I was about to close a door forever. I was pregnant and absolutely desperate." This admission, along with her later estrangement from her son, would haunt Bardot for years to come. It also highlighted the deep disconnect between her public persona as a sensual, carefree spirit and the troubled, conflicted woman she was in private. As the 1960s wore on, Bardot found herself increasingly disillusioned with the film industry and her role within it. She felt pigeonholed by directors who only saw her as a sex symbol, ignoring her desire to take on more challenging, dramatic roles. In one particularly frustrating incident, Bardot was offered a role in a prestigious drama, only to discover that the script had been rewritten to include a gratuitous nude scene. When she protested, the director reportedly told her, "But that's what people want to see. That's why they come to your films." This constant objectification took a severe toll on Bardot's mental health. She began to suffer from panic attacks and bouts of depression, often finding it difficult to leave her home. The pressure to maintain her image as the world's most desirable woman left her feeling empty and unfulfilled. In a private moment with a close friend, Bardot confessed, "I feel like I'm disappearing. The more famous I become, the less of me there is left." Bardot's personal life during this period was equally tumultuous. Her marriage to Jacques Charrier, which had produced her son Nicolas, was crumbling under the weight of public scrutiny and her own inner turmoil. Bardot struggled with the demands of motherhood, feeling ill-equipped to care for a child when she herself felt so lost. In her autobiography, she would later write about this period with brutal honesty. "I was not cut out to be a mother. The responsibility terrified me, and I found myself resenting the demands placed on me. It's a terrible thing to admit, but there were moments when I wished I could simply walk away from it all." This internal conflict between her public image as a carefree sex symbol and her private struggles as a woman and mother only deepened Bardot's sense of alienation. She began to withdraw from public life, turning down film roles and avoiding interviews. When she did appear in public, she often seemed distracted and unhappy, a far cry from the vivacious beauty the world had come to expect. As the 1970s dawned, Bardot's disillusionment with her career and lifestyle reached a critical point. She began to explore other interests, seeking meaning beyond the superficial world of cinema. It was during this period that she first became involved in animal rights activism, a cause that would come to define her later life. Bardot's passion for animals had always been a part of her, but now it became a lifeline, a way to connect with something pure and unconditional in a world that had always demanded so much from her. She began to speak out against animal cruelty, using her fame to draw attention to issues like fur farming and seal hunting. This new direction in her life brought its own challenges. Many in the entertainment industry were baffled by Bardot's newfound passion, seeing it as a bizarre turn for a woman who had built her career on beauty and sensuality. Some even suggested that it was a publicity stunt, a way to stay relevant as she aged out of leading lady roles. But for Bardot, this was no act. Her commitment to animal rights was genuine and deep-rooted. She threw herself into the cause with the same intensity she had once brought to her film roles, educating herself on the issues and using her platform to raise awareness. The breaking point in her film career came in 1973. At the age of 39, still at the height of her beauty and fame, Brigitte Bardot announced her retirement from the film industry. The decision stunned Hollywood and left fans bewildered. How could someone walk away from such success and adoration? In a press conference announcing her retirement, Bardot was characteristically blunt. "I have given everything I can to the cinema," she stated. "Now I want to give something back to the world. There are causes more important than making movies." This reaction to her announcement was mixed. Some praised her courage in walking away from a successful career to pursue her passions. Others criticized her, accusing her of being ungrateful or suggesting that she was simply afraid of aging in the public eye. But for Bardot, the decision was a matter of survival. She later explained in an interview, "I started feeling like I was losing myself. Every new film, every new photo shoot, it was like a piece of me was being chipped away. I had to escape before there was nothing left." With her retirement, Bardot retreated from the public eye, choosing to live a quieter life in Saint-Tropez. She sold her Parisian apartment and many of her possessions, using the money to fund her animal rights work. Her home in Saint-Tropez became a sanctuary, not just for her, but for the many animals she rescued and cared for. It was here, away from the glare of the spotlight, that Bardot found a new purpose. She established the Brigitte Bardot Foundation for the Welfare and Protection of Animals in 1986, using her fame and fortune to advocate for creatures' rights around the world. This dramatic shift from sex symbol to animal rights crusader puzzled many, but for Bardot, it was a natural evolution. "Animals have never betrayed me," she once said in an interview. "They are easy prey, as I have been throughout my career, so we feel the same. I love them." In her activism, Bardot found a sense of purpose and fulfillment that had eluded her in Hollywood. She campaigned tirelessly against fur farming, seal hunting, and animal testing. Her outspoken nature, once a liability in the controlled world of cinema, became an asset in her new role as an advocate for the voiceless. However, Bardot's transition from actress to activist wasn't without controversy. Her strong opinions and unfiltered statements often landed her in hot water. She faced criticism and legal troubles for comments deemed racist or discriminatory, particularly regarding immigration in France. These controversies served to further isolate Bardot from the public that had once adored her. In her later years, she became increasingly reclusive, rarely granting interviews or making public appearances. When she did speak publicly, it was almost always in service of her animal rights work. At 89, Brigitte Bardot has finally admitted what many have long suspected, that her glamorous life in the spotlight was far from the fairy tale it appeared to be. In a rare interview, Bardot revealed the toll that fame took on her mental health and personal relationships. One of her biggest regrets was the loss of a meaningful relationship with her son. "I was never as happy as people thought," she confessed. "The image of me that the world loved was just that, an image. The real Brigitte was always struggling, always searching for something more." Her famous last words after leaving Hollywood were, "I gave my beauty and my youth to men, but I am going to give my wisdom and experience to animals."